Chapter 2 of The Secret of the Old Mill by Franklin W. Dixon. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 2 Counterfeit Money. The Hardy boys left the bank feeling at once foolish and wrathful. "Stung," declared Frank, "stung by a counterfeit bill. Oh, if the fellows hear of this, we'll never hear the end of it. What a fine pair of greenhorns we must have looked to that slick stranger. I'd like to lay my hands on him for about 5 seconds. I'll bet he's been laughing to himself ever since about how easily we were fooled. I'll say we were easy. We hadn't a suspicion in the world." "After all," Joe remarked, "that bill might have fooled anyone. You can't deny that it looks mighty like a real 5. They halted on the corner and again examined the money. Only an experienced eye would have detected any difference between the counterfeit bill and a genuine one. It was crisp and new, and appeared in every respect identical to any bona fide $5 bill that had ever been legitimately issued by the federal government. If we were dishonest, we could palm this off on almost anyone, just as we had it palmed off on us," said Joe. "Oh, well, live and learn. I hate to think of that fellow laughing at us, though. It's a nice price to pay for a lesson not to be too trustful of strangers after this." "It cost me more than it cost you," Frank pointed out. "It was just my luck that I had $3 on me and you had only 2. This phase of the matter had not occurred to Joe before, so he felt considerably more cheerful in the thought that he had not, after all, been the chief loser. They went back to the store and dolefully reported to Mr. Moss that he had been right in his surmise about the bill. "It was bad, all right," Frank told him. "The cashier took one look at it, and that was enough." Mr. Moss nodded sympathetically. "Well, it's too bad you were stung," he said, "but I'd rather it was you than me. In business, we have to be careful. As a matter of fact, I think it would have fooled me. Only the bank warned me this morning that there was some counterfeit money going around, and that I'd better be on my guard against any new bills. The minute I saw your 5 was fresh and new, I got suspicious. It's certainly a clever imitation. Whoever is putting the stuff out is a real artist at that game." "We'll be back for the pie plates later," promised Joe, "but we didn't want you to think we were trying to pass bad money on you." Mr. Moss laughed at the idea. "The Hardy boys pass counterfeit money?" he exclaimed. "I know you better than that, I hope. I'll keep the plates for you, or you can take them now and bring the money back later. Good money, though," he added, wagging his finger at them. "We'll be back," they told him. They went toward the station to wait for the local train on which they expected their father to arrive, and while they waited, sitting on the platform bench, they gloomily discussed the imposition of which they had been the victims. "It isn't so much losing my $3, declared Frank. "It's the thought of being fooled by such a simple trick. We should have known that the fellow had plenty of time to get his money changed at the lunch counter, or at the cigar stand, or even the ticket office. Instead of that, we dug into our pockets like lambs." "Lambs don't have pockets," Joe pointed out. "All the better for them. They're so innocent they'd be fleeced of everything they put in 'em anyway, just like us. We handed over all our money to a total stranger and let him give us a bad bill that we didn't even take the trouble to look at. I wish somebody would kick me all around the block." While the Hardy boys were sitting on the bench, gloomily awaiting the arrival of their father and preparing to tell him of how they had been fooled by the stranger, it will not be out of place to introduce them still further to the readers of this volume. As related in the first volume of this series, the Hardy boys, the Tower treasure, Frank and Joe Hardy, were the sons of Fenton Hardy, a private detective of international fame. Mr. Hardy, who had been for many years on the New York police force and who had later resigned to carry on a private detective practice, was a criminologist of note. He knew by sight and by reputation most of the notorious criminals of his day, and his mastery over all the branches of his profession was such as to place him at the very forefront of American detectives. So great had been the demand for his services in solving the mysteries of crimes that had baffled the detective forces of other cities that he had found it much more lucrative to carry on a practice of his own than to remain attached to the service in any one city, even such a city as the great American metropolis. Fenton Hardy, with his wife Laura Hardy and their 2 sons, Frank and Joe, had accordingly moved to Bayport, a city of about 50,000 inhabitants situated on Barmet Bay on the Atlantic Ocean. There Frank and Joe had gone to school until now they were in Bayport High School. Both boys were fully conscious of the fame of their father and were eager to follow in his footsteps, although their mother had expressed a desire that they fit themselves for some less hazardous and more conventional profession. However, the Hardy boys had inherited much of their father's ability and deductive talent. Already they had aided in solving 2 mysteries that had kept Bayport by the ears. As related in The Hardy Boys, the Tower Treasure, they had solved the mystery of the theft of valuable jewels and bonds from Tower Mansion, after even Fenton Hardy himself had been unable to discover where the thief had hidden the loot. In the 2nd volume of the series, The Hardy Boys, The House on the Cliff, has been told how the Hardy Boys discovered the haunt of a gang of smugglers who were operating in Barmet Bay. In this case, they had received a substantial reward, as federal agents had tried in vain to locate the smugglers' base of activities for many months. Following the adventures at the house on the cliff, an uneventful winter and spring had passed, the brothers devoting themselves to their studies and to an occasional winter holiday. Christmas had come with many presents, and now warm weather was once more at hand. Because of the pride they took in their achievements as amateur detectives, the Hardy boys felt very keenly the ignominy of being so easily fooled by the stranger who had passed the counterfeit money upon them. "Dad will have the laugh on us now," muttered Joe, as they heard the distant whistle of the approaching train. "Well, we'll tell him about it anyway. Who knows but what a big case might arise out of this?" The afternoon local pulled into the station, and Fenton Hardy stepped down from the parlor car, bag in hand, light coat over one arm. He was a tall, dark-haired man of about 40 years of age. He had a quick, pleasant smile for his sons, and he shook hands with them warmly. "How's Mother?" he asked after the first greetings. "She's fine," replied Frank. "She said there'd be something special for supper tonight, seeing you're back." "Good. And what have you 2 been doing? Keeping out of mischief, I hope." "Well, we've kept out of mischief," said Joe, "but we haven't kept out of trouble." "What's the matter?" "We just got fooled by a smart stranger who stepped off the express. It cost us $5. "How did that happen?" "He asked us to change a $5 bill for him." "Aha!" exclaimed Fenton Hardy, raising his eyebrows. "And what then?" "It was counterfeit." Mr. Hardy looked grave. "Have you got it with you?" "Yes," answered Frank, producing the bill. "I don't think we can be blamed such an awful lot for being fooled. It certainly looks mighty like a good one." Fenton Hardy put down his bag and examined the bill closely for a moment. Then he folded it up and put it in his waistcoat pocket. "I'll take care of this, if you don't mind," he said, picking up his bag and beginning to walk toward the station exit. "As it happens, I know something about this money." "What do you mean, Dad?" asked Frank quickly. "I don't mean that I know anything about this particular $5 bill, but I know something about this counterfeit money in general. As a matter of fact, that is why this trip took me longer than I thought it would. When I finished the case that originally took me away, the government called me in on this counterfeit money case." "Is there a lot of it going around?" "Too much. Within the past few weeks, the East has been flooded with it, and the circulation seems to be spreading. There seems to be a central counterfeiting plant somewhere with experts in charge of it, and they are turning out imitation bills so clever that the average person can hardly detect them. The federal authorities are worrying a great deal about it." "And is this one of the bills?" "It looks just like some of the others that have been turned in, although chiefly they have been dealing in 10s and 20s. The man who stepped off the train was probably one of their agents, trying to convert as much of the counterfeit money into good cash as he could. When he saw you were only boys, he thought there would be a better chance of getting change for $5 than 10. Then, of course, he may only have been someone who had been fooled by the counterfeit and decided to get rid of it by passing it on to someone else." "I wish he had asked us to change one of his counterfeit 10s instead," mourned Joe. "We would have been $5 to the good." End of chapter 2.